Good morning, gentlemen. I don't know how many people are going to be on, so I'm going to give it a couple of minutes to see who's about. Right, we're going to get down to this soon. Hello, Mike. How you doing? Hopefully, you can hear me okay. You could let us know some way that you can hear me.
Oh,
Hello, how are
right,
you?
pal. So it would being a knob then.
You can hear me all right, yeah?
Yeah, yeah, sound mate.
Excellent. And you can see my screen?
I can.
Excellent. All right, mate. Well, I'm not expecting many people on today. So it might just be me and you. We'll see. We'll give it another minute or two, and then I'm just going to get cracking on to today's little topic, which is going to be about customer journeys.
Yeah,
Um, Obviously, if it is just you, great. It's just like a one-to-one then, so you can ask as
even
many
better.
questions in whatever as you want. But if it's okay with you, I'll get through my bit for the recording,
Yeah, yeah.
just so that the guys that will watch this on demand obviously can. I just got to check this is recording. Stop sharing my screen. Yeah, it is recording, so that's fine. Let's share my screen again. Right, we'll give it till 2 minutes past. That's another minute, and then we'll kick off. What you on? What you got on today, then, mate?
Just a couple of landlord gas checks this afternoon.
So a nice easy day then.
Yeah, to be fair, it's quiet and right down at the minute.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah, I'm hearing that we are, and a lot of my clients that I work with are saying exactly the same. I think it's just one of them cycles that kicks in. I don't know how long have you been in business?
uh, just over 2 years.
Okay, so you this might be one of the first times you've had, is it that's where it's quiet and down?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
I mean, to be fair, it's never been stupid busy because I won't work for fucking cheap.
yeah,
Um,
good man.
yeah. Or I like to think I don't anyway. But yeah, it's just trying to do a bit more now.
Yeah,
Obviously, get this set up and
what
since I've
I'm
since
seeing
I've
is
switched
oh
to
sorry, yeah,
yeah, I want to say since I've switched to service, mate, I've not had my reminders working properly.
okay.
So I've probably got a couple of hundred jobs from last year that I need to be getting booked in, really. But
Well, hopefully, as long I'll have a quick look while we're waiting. Quickly, see if that email's come through. Bear with me.
yeah, the gas engineer one has got the service due dates on the
Okay,
front.
yeah. So hopefully, I can get that imported because that'll be really handy if I can get that done. So
Yeah,
I haven't had the email yet.
it should be on the old chain that we had.
Did you send it in the software? Let me have a quick look. It depends where I email from, either Gmail or Soundline. So let me just have a look. Hasn't come through yet. I'm sure it'll drift. I'm sure it'll filter its way through. We'll check at the end.
Yeah, no worries.
Right. Okay. So today, then, we are talking about the customer journey section of Sales Lion, and first of all, what it is, why it's important, and how you can sort of use it for multiple different reasons. So the customer journeys is the label that I've given it. Okay. So it's also called a pipeline, or it's also called the opportunities tab. So I know that that can cause a little bit of confusion. I just wanted to use the word customer journey because that's how I visualize it. I visualize it as a journey that I want to take that customer on. I find that that is the best way to sort of explain it and best way to get people to think about what they can utilize this for. So in this example, I'm going to be showing you my live one of my live journeys, which is for the new boiler part of my business. So there's multiple reasons why you should be using this section of the software. So if we look at it in a very basic view, it's just a very good visualization. Yeah. So everything on here is customizable at the top. So new lead, appointment book, quote issued, in communication, etc., etc. They can all be changed. They can be anything that you want them to be. But this part really takes a little bit of thinking, a little bit of planning, a little bit of working out what you're actually trying to achieve. So I would definitely recommend that you don't wing this, that you listen to today's session, and obviously then after you go out and do a little bit of work behind the scenes to build this as you want. But for this example, I'm going to show two examples today so you can see the different types of usage for it. But what this, if I look at it from a visual perspective, it means that at a click of a button, you can view this on the app as well. So you can work obviously remotely, but obviously it's better where possible. When you're building stuff, you need to be on a computer or a laptop. But then the day-to-day management, once you've got that system working, can be done on that. So what you can see here is this then just quickly gives me a very quick snapshot on what's happening. So I can see I've got no new leads coming, right? So pretty much the office lady on Friday would have cleaned everything up and made sure that it was, thank you very much, Sammy. My wife just bought me a Starbucks, so she's in the good books now. So you can see what's going on. Obviously, if you don't use it, it gets very, very messy. So it's very important that you're on top of this. So if you haven't got any office staff or VAs or PAs or anyone that helps you, it's my advice here is to set a time where you update everything, okay? Because we can't automate everything, and I wouldn't advise to either, because there's certain things that need that personal touch, that needs a human interaction. Although technology is fantastic, it doesn't think like we do. It doesn't know the communications that maybe we've had off of the software. So we need to have manual steps. So keeping on top of it is really, really important. So what happens is there's multiple ways that something can get put in here. So in this example, we have a form on our website. So I'll just quickly show you here. So when they fill out all of this information, it gets back into the new lead section. Okay. As you've heard me talk about before, in the automation zone, you can then kick off lots of different things to happen, which I'm going to get to today. But I want to just really go through this step by step for now. Then we have the appointment booked. So obviously self-explanatory. When an appointment is booked, you can either drag it into appointment book, or if you're utilizing the calendar system in the software, then it can do that automatically. But we have to tell it to do that. Remember, this is where this software is a bit more customizable, or it is a lot more customizable than the likes of ServiceMate, Gas Engineer Software, Commusoft. Obviously, they give you set things that can happen. Whereas with this, we can do a lot of things, but we have to tell it to do that because it doesn't know that you want to do it. And you might want it to do it, and I might not want to do it. So it needs to be individual, it needs to be bespoke. And that is the massive pro to this software, but it's also a con because it means that you've got to actually sort of do it. But it's simple, as hopefully you're all getting a bit more comfortable with what the software can do. And especially over the next few more weeks, you're going to keep learning, keep improving, and there's going to be weekly sessions ongoing forever anyway. So there's going to be a constant way to learn. So again, when it comes into here, again, it's very easy to see. I can see that I've got three jobs in there that are booked appointments, and obviously we just got to wait to then send someone out, or video quotes. We were doing a lot of video quotes, but they've dropped off massively in the last 12 months. We've sort of gone back to pretty much most are in-person quotes, so in their house, or just photos. It seems customers are quite happy to send photos, not so happy to go on a video call now. A couple of years ago, when COVID was rife, video calls were a great asset, but not so much now. So when we send the quote, again, depending on your software that you're using, remember my business, or this part of my business, is new boilers, okay? So we actually use a boiler quoting tool that is a third-party software, but it integrates nicely with this, which is called Lead Pound. And this is where we send our quote. So when we send that quote, the system knows, and it moves them into quote issued here. All right. So again, I can see that we've only got 2 active quotes that have been issued recently, and it gives me again a bit of an idea on how the business is performing, if there's anything I need to do. So based on what I'm looking at here, I can see we're obviously quite quiet. So we need to kickstart something, if maybe up our ad budget, maybe do a little bit different marketing, maybe do a bit of social media stuff, whatever it might be. Then I have another tab, and that obviously kicks off another chain of events that goes on again, which I'll be jumping back to. Then we have this one here, which is called in communication. So this means that we don't want the system to be doing anything now, because they've either rang up, they've either texted or replied and said, look, yeah, we've got no questions. We'll be in touch. We're just waiting for something to happen. So we don't want the system to be sending them out annoying text messages and emails and stuff. So we stick them in here. This here, obviously, is a nice little pot of, they've not declined and they've not said yes. So this is really quite a little potential bucket of gold here, because these are still very active and might be able to get them over the line. So again, because we're looking fairly quiet, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 4 boilers booked in. So this week that will be a nice steady week. But it looks like going forward we haven't got much. So I will be getting the office to send out some special offers or prompts to try and get some of these out of in communication, and hopefully either into accept or into the graveyard, which is where they go to die. Then we've got obviously accepted quotes. So these are jobs that have accepted, and for whatever reason they're not booked in yet. It could just be because they accepted over the weekend and the office hasn't booked them in yet. It could be, I know, for example, Christine, she's accepted, but she doesn't want it doing until the end of August. So it could also be that as to why it's not in the install booked in. Obviously, install booked in means that it's booked in and it's ready to go. That's it in there. Then we have a completion file here. So everyone that gets completed goes in here. And again, multiple reasons why, which we'll be touching further on. But in this example, when we move a customer from booked in to complete, what it does is it spits it into another pipeline for us. So I'm just going to quickly jump between here. It spits it into the new, oh, sorry, to trigger happy on my white pad there. It sticks it into here. So can you see Jummy here? So that is now sitting in here and can be allocated to the month. It's actually something that we're phasing out because I've found a better way. But this is how it was running, and this is why there's a load in here, because the office lady hasn't known what to do with them because I haven't given her the correct instructions yet. But what we were doing is so this boiler was installed when was it installed? It would have been June. So what we would have done is dragged it over to June, and then that starts to build out the pipeline for servicing and stuff next year. What it also does is add a tag for boiler lead there, and it should have also added a tag for June. I might have already turned that section off. Let's just refresh. Remember, as with all computer systems, sometimes you have to just give it a little refresh to give it a kick up the arse. No, so I must have turned that off. So you could have it set so it sets the tag anyway. But like I said, we're phasing this section out on ours personally. We also going further on this pipeline, we have a lead graveyard. So anyone that has like explicitly said no, don't want it doing, you're too much, or you couldn't do it quick enough, or whatever, we just stick in here just so it's out the way, parked up. So I get a lot of fake leads, mainly because I think everyone gets fake leads, but I get quite a high volume because of who I am and whatever people see me on social media. So they seem to go and put in random details constantly. So I have a lot of just random crap in here. We also have an out of area tab. So what we do is if it's out of area, rather than waste the office time ringing them and whatever, we drag them into out of area, and it kicks off an email and a text just to say, thank you very much for putting your details in. Unfortunately, we don't cover your area. Wish you all the best for getting your job sorted. Just so we don't look like bell ends and ignore people and whatever, because we've actually had bad reviews from where we haven't got back to people about a quote. I say bad reviews, we've had one or two over the 10 years. So it's just a little touch just to make us look professional and make us look, decent, really, even if we're not going to get the business out of them. So that's the basic framework of a pipeline or a customer journey, whatever you want to call it. So obviously it's nice to be able to see that information. Yeah. So that straight away is a big win because I'm pretty sure you probably, most of you watching, haven't really got a very quick, easy visual reflection on your business. But that's only one part of it. Some people, that will be enough, just to have some basic clarity over what's going on. But there's also a lot more behind the scenes as I've kept touching on there. So I just want to show you the level of communication that we do within our business in this one journey. Okay. So I know some of you can't see campaigns, which I'm actually actively working on. So I'm going to be getting all of mine moved, hopefully this week, out of campaigns into workflows. Principle is exactly the same. It's just, I think I've already explained this, but for those that maybe haven't watched that session, campaigns and triggers were the old way of doing a workflow. And my stuff was just built a couple of years ago. So that's why it's still in here. And I think that's why some of you can't see it. There used to be an option where I could get other people to see that section, but it seems like they've removed that now because I guess they just want to move on from that. It's like using old parts of the system. Although this is going to look slightly different, the principles are exactly the same, and I'm going to show you in workflow a very quick example of how to build one, so that this is going to start me on my journey of getting mine turned over, and also just so you can see how simple it is. So I again mentioned folders and stuff last time. Try where you can to have folders for the different things that you're building because you can quickly get in a right mess. And when I took over Elite, they had hundreds of things going on, and it was just very, very messy. So that was a lesson for me there to make sure that things are nicely packed away. Okay, so we're going to click on the new boiler lead. I'm going to open up a separate tab quickly so you can hopefully open in a new tab. Okay. So I'm going to be flicking between the screens here just so you can see it in its visual element and what you can see behind the scenes. So new lead here, okay, is that section here. And then this is the automations that go out. So first of all, we have to configure this. Like I say, it's going to look slightly different, but for this example, it's going to be fine. And like I say, I'm gonna have 3 tabs open because I'm going to build this live in the workflow. We're going to utilize time and to showcase again that it's not as complicated as it might look. Okay, so let's look at what actually happens here. So the configuration is when it goes out. So we want it to go out between 7:30 and 8:30 p.m., 7:30 a.m. and 8:30 p.m. between Monday and Saturday. We don't want text going out or emails going out outside of them hours. You can if you want, but what if a customer, like I've got a built-in voicemail and stuff, so if people submit their details at say 11 o'clock at night and then they get a voicemail, it's a bit like, well, it's either working, so they might ring back, or it just looks a bit unprofessional. Okay. So then we've got the first text message. So this goes out immediately. You can see it's a 76% delivery rate. Okay, that can be for multiple reasons. Again, like I mentioned to you, I get a lot of fake details. So it's going to fail if the phone number's wrong or whatever. There's lots of reasons why it might fail. It could be if it's an email, it could be the email address is incorrect, or you, for whatever reason, not broken through their spam folder. So if this number is quite high, then if the percentage delivered is quite low, we would want to do some further investigation. Okay, I know from experience that for my business, this is about where we sit. Okay, so a SMS goes out, a voicemail drop goes out, another SMS. All of these are text messages in here. And I used to use email, but I just sort of dropped the email because I just found that I was getting a better rate with the SMS. But that said, I am going to be as we build these into the workflows section, I'm going to be bringing back in the emails because there's no harm. You might as well have double attack at them while you've got their attention. But as you can see, there's a robust experience here that goes out to that customer, and a lot of people come back and say, "Oh, well, what if they call me back? What if they text me back or anything like that?" Well, the good thing is the system knows that. Okay, or it does if you tell it. So can you see here, stop on response? So if that customer calls back, that's a response. Okay, so it's going to stop the next lot of text messaging and email going out. If they reply via the text message or email, again, it's going to stop it. Obviously, if you ring them manually away from the system, or they ring another number that's not connected to your system, then the system's not going to know. So again, that's where utilizing this drag and drop stuff is very important, because you can drag it from new lead to appointment book, and that will stop that next lot of communications again. So what you don't want to be doing is bugging customers if they've already booked in or they told you to F off. The last thing you want to be doing is keep communicating with them, because that's when you run into spam problems, GDPR problems, and all of that side of things. So you want to respect people's privacy. You want to respect people's um, private space, really, is the word I'm looking for there. You know what I mean? A phone is, if their personal life is on that phone. So when you're penetrating that with text and emails, you want to have a little bit of a conscience, and not be too aggressive, and not make stupid mistakes. Like when I first started, a good example is I didn't realize you have to tell the system to stop, right? So every lead, no matter what happened, was getting all of these texts, even if they had cancelled, even if they'd booked in, whatever it was. And that was on all of my stages. So I was getting a bit of feedback fairly quickly to say, Wayne, what's all these text messages coming out, and why am I still getting this when I told you I'm not interested, etc. So like usual, you have to learn the hard way, and hopefully that's one of the benefits of working with someone like me, is that you can learn from my mistakes rather than make them yourself. So this is the workflow for this perspective. And remember, new lead. Okay, so this little bit here is just for the new lead. And this is why they brought it all into the workflow section, because you then also have to set up some triggers. Okay, which again are built into workflows, but in here they're separate. So I just want to show you that here. So again, I've labeled everything so I can keep on top of it. But if we look for new boiler lead, where is it? New boiler lead down here. Can you see it? New boiler lead nurture #1. So that's the first step. Okay, so this would be the trigger that would kick off that campaign there. Yeah, that new boiler lead. So here we still use triggers and things in the workflows. It just looks a little bit different. So we're going to build this again, like I say. So let's click on this. So this is where we say, this is, if this happens, we want something to happen. We want it to hit to that campaign, and that's the campaign. So there, if I go back to campaigns, that is the campaign. Okay, so let's build this in a workflow so it becomes a bit more relevant to you, because once you've learned this stuff, you can build everything yourself, or you can outsource it. Obviously, you can. I have a few contacts that can help you build this sort of stuff. Obviously, there are charges for that sort of thing. So just reach out and let me know, or you're perfectly capable, hopefully, with this training and the support and all the help videos, you're going to be able to do this sort of stuff yourself. So let's get on to a blank one. So I need to be able to see that. Let's get into the automation zone, workflow. Okay, so I'm going to create, first of all, I'm going to create a folder, because I'm going to be slowly this week changing everything over. So this folder is going to be called the new boiler workflow. Okay, and then once we open that, oh, clicked on the wrong one. Come on. There, new boiler workflow. Obviously, there's nothing in there now, so we're going to create this workflow. We're going to start from scratch, just because I don't want to get bogged down with all of the rubbish in there. And now, what we're going to do, okay, so obviously, if you're building this for the first time, you're going to have a little bit of a mind map on a bit of paper of what you're actually trying to do, or you're going to copy me. Yeah, no harm, no care. You can copy me directly. I have no qualms about that whatsoever. I would just advise that you change wordings and stuff, just so that it sounds a little bit more native to you. Certain words maybe that you guys use in your area, or the way you speak, or whatever it is. You want to make it feel like it's coming from you, rather than just computerized, just a bot, just automatic, boring stuff. Okay. So if we remember back to what was the trigger for this one, we're going to make sure we build it right. So the trigger here was if they land in the new boiler lead there. Okay, so that's what we need to do. So with this now, it's now more visual. So we click here, okay? And then we're going to search for the pipeline status change as the trigger, okay? Now we're going to say what pipeline? In pipeline, new boiler pipeline, and then what stage? New boiler lead, okay? So that is now will be the trigger. This will fire the gun for whatever we tell next. So we save that trigger. Obviously, I'm in draft mode, so nothing's going to happen without me telling it to. And constantly save as well. Okay, don't forget to keep saving, because if you lose all the work you're doing, then it's a bit annoying. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to tell the system what to do. So let's look at what happened next. Okay, so the next bit, so was this here. This text message would go out. Okay, so for now, I'm just going to copy and paste what I've already got. So I'm going to control copy. Obviously, you guys, like I say, you can use this wording. I'm going to put everything in your account today for what we're talking about. So you're more than welcome to use it. So I'm going to say send SMS and paste that in. Like again, I don't want to bog everybody down with too much content here. But if you remember from the last session, ideally, what we would do is we would put this text into in the template section. Okay, but this isn't about that. So I'm just going to copy and paste it for now, because otherwise this video is going to just be long. All right, I will be doing one on the template as a separate subject. Okay, so there you go. We can check all the details here. So can you see we've used these codings here? Okay, if you remember from one of the other videos, you find them if you go into here. Okay, so what that does is that then knows the person. So rather than it just saying being too generic, it will say, hi, Jill, if her name's here. It's whatever user that this is assigned to. So it's Rebecca, it's Wayne, whoever it might be. Then obviously it sends out the information. As I said, I always recommend that you test the text messages. And if you remember last time, this was still where you have to put the +44. It's one of the only parts left where you have to still put +44 instead of 0. So now I'm going to check my phone, make sure, there we go, the text message is there. I'm just going to read it, make sure it looks, again, if you can see it there, sort of. I'm on that blurred screen because my house is a mess. And away we go. So I personally didn't really like the look of that. So it's grouped everything up together. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a few spacings. I'm pretty sure that should save that. There you go. So we save that, okay? And then the next stage was the voicemail drop, okay? So I'm going to have to download this quickly, because I'm going to re-upload it into voicemail drop. I'm not sure if you can hear that, but it's playing in my ear right now. I'm going to save it to my desktop. Get rid of that. Okay, so I had it currently, so that went out immediately, which is what I've set it here to do, because I've not added any time delay. So the minute that lands in new boiler lead, it's going to send that text, and then I wanted a 3-minute delay to send this voicemail. So let's do that on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a wait time, okay, and I'm going to choose 3 minutes. Again, we're going to set this generically for the whole thing, so we're not going to need to worry about it. So set wait for 3 minutes. And then I want to send that voicemail, which is that file there. Okay. Again, obviously you could test that. Obviously I've just listened to it, so I know it's fine. But if you've just recorded something, you want to just make sure that it's recorded what you want. I'm going to just call that wait 3 minutes, just so it's clear as we're building. You can see there, that's just the title of it. Again, be as organized as you can. If it takes you an extra 5 minutes when you're building this out to make sure things are labeled and grouped and everything is clean, trust me, I can't re-emphasize the importance of it. Okay, so now we've got the text message and the voicemail. What was the next step of that? It is another text which goes out 4 hours after. Okay, so I'm going to copy and paste that, and I'm going to go here. I'm going to add the wait, which was I say 4 hours. I think I said 4 hours. So 4 hours. This is basically giving the customer, in my opinion, a chance. So they're getting the text, they're getting the voicemail, and they're giving them a window of opportunity to get in touch with us before we bug them again. All right. So let's do it. SMS. Paste that in. Let's save that. Okay. Didn't label it as I said. So wait, wait, can't spell. Wait 4 hours. Oh my days, what is going on with 4 hours? There we go. Fat finger. Okay. All right. And then what was the next step here? So keep going to the one. So then 1 day later here. So this one goes out 1 day after. So let's paste that. So we're going to wait 1 day. Again, we don't want to be too aggressive. You can be as aggressive as you want. Obviously, it's up to you. But for me, I want to give some timings between. I don't want to bombard someone loads of times in a short period of time because it will just piss them off. So wait 1 day. Save action, and then we're going to send them a text message there. Save action, and then what was the next step on that? So that's that. Then with another day to wait there. So let's that. Obviously, I'm using different content at every different stage because obviously I don't want it to look like it's just some robot that is doing this. I want it to feel as natural as automation can. Um, Most people they won't know, they'll think it's you. Again, wait, day. Obviously, let me just get that done. So obviously here, where every time I'm telling it to do something, I can tell it to do a lot of things. Okay, so just going off subject here, I could add another voicemail here, yeah, or excuse me, or I could add an email, yeah, or I could make a call. Okay, so it will auto connect the call to the customer answers, it then calls you. Okay, so again, cool little feature. As with any phone system, there are sometimes little bugs in there where it doesn't connect and stuff, but for the majority, it works pretty well if you've got the ability to take calls all of the time. All right, let's look at some of the other things you can do. So you can set it so it makes a manual call, which will come up as a notification for the office to call or for you to call. You can add tags to people. You can put them in different parts of the opportunity section, the pipeline section. You can assign a user, okay, which is very important actually. So I'm going to go back a step here and explain what that is. So what I want that to do is basically I want it to assign a user straight away, basically. All right. So if you see here, when this triggers, I'm going to say, I want you to assign it to, and I'm going to assign it to Rebecca. That's just so that then it's her name that's attached to that job. Very important little thing there to do. Let's look at some of the other bits that we can do. You can remove. So if you've got, this is a great example here. If you've got so one of my clients, he's got a couple of people in the office that are responsible for different things. So one of his journeys is about he likes to get customers' photos. So we've created a form where it sends out the form. They then put the details in, and the system then obviously tells us that the photos are there. What we could do, which I need to check if we've actually implemented in his or not, we can assign a user. So to start the journey, we want it to be the office lady. In this case, it's a lady. But then when the photos are submitted, we might want to assign it to the lead engineer that then looks at the photos to then give a quote. So this is again another cool thing that can be automated, takes it out of the hands of the manual steps that need to be done. You can send notifications, which again, very, very cool. You can choose. I'm just going to show you this one because it's quite cool. So we can send the type of notification. We can send an email or just a notification which pops up on the app or on the system, or you can send a text. Let's choose a notification. We can obviously leave the message that we want. When they click that notification, we can choose whether it goes to the contact page, whether it goes straight to the conversation page, or whether it goes to the opportunity tab. And then we can select the user that is relevant. So do we want this notification to go to the user that is assigned? Yes. If we want a particular user, we can then just choose the exact person that we want to notify. I'm not going to save that because we're going off subject. But while we're in here, it's very important that we look at what can be done. You can add tasks. So again, there's a whole, you can run task management through this software. It becomes just a tick list and a good way of centralizing anything that needs doing, whether it be job related, lead related, or just general business. If you want to use it as a task management system, it is very, very good for that. AI appointment booking bot, you'd have to do, I haven't dived into what that is. Let's see what's going on in here. Let's see. Yeah, no, I don't let the bot. No, I don't know enough about this. I'm not going to start teaching you stuff that I don't know. So stuff that I'm going to look further into because, as you're all aware, the software is constantly getting better and stronger. So I'm going to make a list, make a note to look into that. As you can see, look here, there's just so much options that you can do. A good one here that I've actually learned yesterday and today is about the boiler reminder. So in the no, let's get this done first. I'm jumping around the gun here. Sorry, anyone that works with me knows sometimes I like to go full steam and let's just finish what we're starting before we move on. So we've done that one, and then we're going to send this last text message. So to get back on track, this is to then complete this journey, and that sends out 8 hours after that. Okay, so let's go back into here. We're going to say to wait. Obviously, all of this is customizable. So if you want it to wait shorter or longer or whatever, then obviously that's your prerogative. You do what you feel is right for your business. The reason I've done this is because we found that it worked well and we didn't need to change it. We were getting good responses. Again, if things aren't working well for you, then you change it. Yeah, you work it and you adapt and you iterate it to work for you and your business. So don't forget that. Once you do something, it doesn't have to stay that way. If you're finding that, you know, customers aren't responding or they're getting annoyed and texting you to say stop texting or whatever, then you adapt. You adapt. I wouldn't say if one or two do it, if it becomes a trend, if it becomes a habit. All right. So let's save that. All right. So we have now replaced these. Let me get to it. This one here. So we've replaced this trigger by putting it into here at the top. Okay. And then we've replaced all of this here by putting it down in these drop downs. Again, you can zoom in and out and you can see how complex it is and you can see it all in real term. I'm keeping this as a draft because I want to get everything built and then switch over. Now we move on to another part here, which is the settings. So this is where we start to set all the, if you remember back here, when I went to configuration, that is now in the settings part here. So time window, I want it to send between Monday and Saturday, and I am going to change, I'm going to leave that at 8. I don't mind contacting them in the evening because my guy Nino and his wife, they will answer the phone. So I'm going to say 8 p.m. because again, we want to be available for when the customer's available. Customers are busy just like us. So if they get a text at 7 o'clock when they're at home, you might be able to get that booked in if you want to, obviously, you know. And again, if you can utilize online booking and stuff like that, you can take away a manual sort of phone call. So from 8 a.m. in the morning to 8 p.m., we're going to want to do that. We're going to send it from, these are all going to come from Rebecca. So we're going to go user there, and from her email, user email. And the reason we use these tags is so if we ever change anything, we don't have to go in all the time and change everything. Whatever that user's name is, so Rebecca recently got married, if I'd written everything, or I probably did, if I look back here, they probably still say Rebecca Cooper, whereas that's not her name now. Her name's Rebecca Romano. Oh no, okay, it does look like we've changed that. And I haven't got a surname in there, so actually, oh no, there, look, you can see there, can you see that? It says Rebecca Cooper, yeah? Whereas if we use the tag like they're meant to use, I'll show you quickly. All right, so let's look at this SMS. So still here, you can see it says Rebecca Cooper. What I should do, all right, is change that custom value, user's full name, so that if she changes her name again, I wouldn't have to go in and edit that. it would just change it because that's what the system's reading. Okay, to try and use tags, then I think they're called tags. Am I using the right word there? Yeah, they're the custom value tags. Yeah, they are. That is what they're called. So anything with that symbol there is what you can automate. All right. Now, what we need to do is set these settings here. Okay, so we want to stop on response, very important. And do we want to allow them to come into the system more than once? So I allow multiple because it could be a year later. So they might be sticking in my lead graveyard because they didn't go ahead at that time, but then they might come back on my website. I don't want it to mess up the system, so I allow that. Conversation management. By default, automated messages don't mark conversation as read. Toggle this on and off if you want conversations that this workflow will interact with to be marked as read. So no, I'm going to leave that off. And then the start date here, we're not worrying about that. It's start, so I'm going to quickly save. You can look here. We'll show the history, anything that's happened in that, and the status of anyone in that zone now. And then what we're going to do, as with anything, we want to label everything correctly. So this is new boiler lead, and it was stage 1. So for me, in my monkey brain, I will label that just number 1. Why did that not? Number 1. That's basically telling me that that's stage 1 of the new boiler lead. And then that is that built. All right. So again, how long has that taken me? Bear in mind, I've been explaining as I'm going. Okay. If I was just doing that on my own without having to sort of explain every step and jump between everything, I could have built that in 5 or 10 minutes, I reckon. All right. And if that is all you do, so that when a new lead comes in, this goes off, right? You're stepping yourself above everybody else around you because not a lot of people are going to be taking things to that level to get in contact with people. All right. Okay. So now if we go back to workplace, I've saved it. Okay. You can see here, new boiler lead, number 1. Obviously, I set the draft because I want to build out everything that was in this section here. These 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need to build out these 5, turn them off, and then turn these ones on. So that's why, obviously, it's back to draft mode. What I did miss, sorry, let me go back in. I think we touched on this last week, that you can test the workflow, okay? So I can select a contact, I can test that, and then it will run through and highlight any potential problems that are in there. So let's do a test live. I normally get caught out. There will normally be something wrong, and it just shows why you should test things, okay? So we're going to run that, run test. Okay. So hopefully, if I refresh, okay, excellent. It's worked. So what's happened is that's triggered because I've told it to. Obviously, in real life, there would have to be a way of that triggering, which we'll come on to now. It's assigned it to the user. It's sent the text message. Let's check that I've got the text message. Yeah, there we go. Open that up, and yeah, it's nicely formatted now with the spaces between. If you look, that was the first one, all one big block, and then if you look here, you can see, I know you can't see the writing, but there's nice gaps. It looks a little bit neater. Okay, and now what it's going to do is it's going to wait 3 minutes, send the voicemail, and obviously go through the rest of the sequence as I've asked it to. If I go up here now, we can start to see what's going on. So you can see the history of this log. You can see that it was added to the workflow then, it executed the user, the SMS, and it's now currently in the wait zone, and then status. We definitely did touch this on the last session, so I'm going to quickly move on. And obviously now it's waiting for that time there. So I'm just going to cancel that because I don't want to keep sending myself loads of text messages. But obviously we would go through, make sure it all works. Perfect. All right. So that is that section. So now what I want to show you is, so that is like a journey, isn't it? That the customer is going to be taken on. If we go back to customer journey, you know, they're going to work their way through here and eventually hopefully either get to a sale or to a decline. Now I want to show you a bit of a different one because again, it's relevant. but I want to show you the boiler service reminder. So this might change a little bit before I put it in your account. I'm just making some final tweaks, and you don't have to use what I build. You can just use the inspiration and build your own one. But basically, I wanted a quick way to be able to see what's going on again in my business. So as the customers go through this journey, so let's say we service Mr. Smith's boiler today, okay? There's different ways that that you need to do to get that information. Okay, once it has a reminder date, so let me jump back, let me slow down. How long have we got? Yeah, we've got time. Let's slow down a bit. Let's go, let's find it. Okay, let's find. So obviously, like with any software, it's not going to know everything. Sometimes we can import stuff. So with Mike, who's on the call live, we're actually going to try and import his service reminder date. But not everything is going to be on his system, and not everything is importable. Okay, if that's even a word. So there is sometimes going to be manual things that we have to do. But over time, we'd hopefully try to make it as seamless as possible. So down here, again, you guys probably haven't got that yet. That'll be added as well, so don't worry. We've got boiler service reminder. Okay, so this is where we can set when we service their boiler basically, and it starts to act as the trigger for the next automation. So let's say we just serviced Wayne's boiler on the 21st of January. Is it even the 21st? I think I've said it in the past. Let's say we did it on Saturday. Okay, we save that. 6 months after that date, if we jump back to customer journey, 6 months after that date, it's going to go into this part of the pipeline. And then 10 months after that date, it's going to go in here. 11 months, it's going to go in here. If they click a link within this to book, again, if you're using the booking system or your own booking system, we can make that trigger link. Then it will show me that they've clicked. So that's basically telling me these are hot. These have read the message. And not only have they read the message, they've clicked the link to see more. So for stage one of this, it's just going to sit and click links. So you can do a manual action. You can just ring them, you can text them, and don't forget you can do all of that through the system. So you can literally just go here that you can press call, you can view the conversation, and you can start to text them and email them and message them and whatever it is that you want to do. You can add notes and all that sort of stuff. And then obviously when they're booked in, we'll either manually drag them over to booked in, or we will find an automated way to do it. If you're using the built-in stuff, it makes it a lot easier. If you're not, then we can work around it. And again, what I wanted this to be is so that at any point of time, I can see, okay, well, we've got, let's say there's 800 customers, or let's say 80 customers that are at the 11-month reminder stage. Okay, well, let's work on that. Let's get some marketing going out. Let's try and get them over the line. It just gives us a good visualization, but it also helps us pull off different triggers if we want to do different things. So let's go back here into automation zone. Come on, let's go home. So we've got the boiler reminder that I'm building here. So this is what you're going to get access to. So the new trigger, I haven't set that yet. But basically, I'm telling the system to use that service date reminder to then do something, okay? So then I'm going to, I've used the wrong word. I've used prior. So basically, after that date, so whatever date that is, it's going to do something else. It's going to, after 6 months, right, it's going to send an email and a text, okay? Then I want it to move in to that part of the stage, that 6-month check-in stage of the pipeline. So if you remember that, that's here. So the minute that date hits 6 months after, it's going to move into here and it's going to send out the text and email. Then I'm going to ask it to wait 2 months. I don't know why I've used the word prior rather than after. Must have had a different idea when I was building it. 2 months after, it is going to do another email or text or whatever, a voicemail, whatever it is you want. And it's also going to update that for the 10-month reminder. So then that will sit in this section, okay? And then got 1 month. Again, I've used the word prior. I don't know what I've done.
Prior to next service.
Yeah, maybe that was my thinking, but I think after makes more sense, doesn't it? Like after that date
After that date,
that you
yeah.
put in, yeah. I think I must have been doing something. I don't know what. um, and then as we get closer, okay. Again, I'm going to go through and edit all of that, but I've now at this stage I've added a task, okay. And this basically is to make sure that it's updated ready for next year, which we can either update it manually, or what I've worked out is that what we can do is as this sequence runs through, okay, so then I've left it 2 weeks there and then 7 days after. I've obviously got a little bit messy with this, so my apologies. So at the end of this sequence, I have then told it to add 1 year to that date. Okay. So obviously you can, if you're not too fussy about the exact day, as long as it's in the right sort of area time of year, then this will work perfect. You won't have to go back in and edit it if you don't want to. It will just add 1 year to that custom date, that boiler service reminder date automatically. And then it will just repeat that process year on year until told otherwise. That is how I'm going to use it. I'm not going to be going in and changing the exact date every year. Okay. Purely just because it doesn't bother me that if they had it done 2 weeks later and they get the reminder a couple of weeks earlier, I'm not too fussy with that. Unless for any specific reason we are in that job card. So let's say Mrs. Jones rings up and says, "Oh, I've got your reminder. I don't remember having it done till the 15th of December." And we'll be like, "Oh, yeah, that's fine. No worries. We can get it booked in for then." Then I might change it if I'm not actively hands on with that customer. My main thing here is that I want to communicate with that customer roughly around the time that they're going to need my service. Okay. Again, depends how finical you want to be. There's no right or wrong here. It's up to you. So I've added it a task here so that you can go in and manually, it will assign that task how you've set it up. So it's assigned to me in this example. Obviously, you could choose to assign whoever you wanted. And you can then just physically update that. And it's very simple to update. Literally, you would just go, let's just click on, get back to my profile here. So you would just scroll down and you would just change the date here. Okay. But if you don't change it, you'll have to, if you're going to change it yourself manually every year, and there may be ways to zap this in. I've still got to work this out, but um, what you would have to do is you'd have to turn off that operation to add a year. Yeah, because otherwise you'll just start getting confused. But as and when you're looking to implement this, might be worth just sending me a quick message, just do a little recap. I can do a quick loom just to say, look, this is what you're going to need to do if you're doing it this way. Or if you've got your own ideas, we can just back them off each other and work out the solution that fits you and your business. And remember, every business is different. And this is one of the benefits of utilizing Sales Lion is that you don't have to do the standard shit. If you're on Service Mate, all you get to do is send out one text and one email to remind that customer. Yeah, you know how busy your email inbox is. You know how busy your phone is. Is one text message really going to impact? Unless they're actively like, oh, yeah, I need this doing. They're going to forget, right? And they're gonna neglect it. Back in the day, I used to send out hard, like written letters. I would print them all off. I was on a Communisoft back then in like 2012, 2013, and it had a great feature that you could basically go to January and print off the whole list of January, and it was all letters. And then me and my wife would sit there, we'd put them in letters and we'd post them out. There are ways to do that on ServiceMate and other software. And if you want to implement that, I think that is a very good, it's still a very good, if anything, it's better now than how it used to be, because nowadays we don't get much in the post. So it's very uncongested. If you get a letter through the post, you're going to probably open it and read it. If you get an email, you might not read it, yeah, or you might scan over it, get busy. So letters are potentially a very good way to deal with service reminders as well, but they take a bit of manual effort and a bit of a manual step. There are ways that we could possibly automate it. I know my friend Etam built out a thank you system. So what that would do is it would, at a certain stage, it would send that information to another website company that he used that would make handwritten notes so that he would fit a boiler. When that boiler was complete 2 weeks later, they would get through the post a thank you what looked like handwritten. It wasn't. It was actually a computer that used a pen, right? And it was like AI, and it would like you could choose the style of writing, and it would write it out. He stopped doing it because that company was in America, and it ended up costing him a fortune on postage. But I'm pretty sure there's probably UK based stuff now that you can use, and there's lots of things that you could try on that. But yeah, so my point here is that this gives us the ability to do a lot more around getting our annual servicing. Because quite frankly, if you're in the gas industry, and you know, I've got a pest control client, right? And obviously, I try to make sure that I'm not just focusing solely on boiler stuff because I have electricians, I have carpenters, I have the pest guy that I was on about. There's ways you can use these sort of reminders for all different things. Yeah. So it could be that you power flush someone's system and you want to send out a reminder that they should get their chemical levels checked because it's been a year since the power flush. It could be for the pest control guy. We spoke about he does service plans to go out. I think it was every 6 weeks to check the bait boxes and stuff. We could build that out so that they get an email to say, "Oh, we're coming this week to check the bait box. Is there any problems you want to report before we attend, etc." There's so many different examples around how you can utilize it. I'm just using the boiler reminder because it's obviously most of you guys are in the boiler plumbing and heating industry, so it's a very relevant subject, and it's also a very lucrative subject because servicing is easy generally, and it's a place there where you get into a customer's house, you build relationships, and down the line, you know, you might do the bathroom for them, or you might change that boiler for them, or you might do all the rads, or you might do an air source heat pump. I know a couple of you are into the greener side of things now, so even more so, customer data and communicating and staying top of mind with the customer is so important because potentially, you know, if the government up their game and there's going to be a lot of money flowing around trades and construction, especially on the green sort of side of things. So customer data, and this is why the likes of Box and people like that have come in and absolutely dominated with low prices because they're looking at the longer picture. They're looking at, they now have a database of probably 100, 200, 300, 400,000, whatever it is. I don't know what volume they're doing, but of customers that have trusted them and spent money with them. So what perfect pool to go to when the government release a better grant system, for example, to update to an air source heat pump or whatever it might be. Customer data, like you only got to look at Facebook, Google, and all of them. It's the data of the customer that becomes important if you're going to leverage it. If you just sit on it like most of us have for the last 10, 15 years, it's worth nothing. Yeah? Well, it's worth nothing up to this date. If you start to leverage it, becomes very powerful, and as much of that as you can automate and take out the hands, take out the brain that you don't have to think about, the better. Okay, so I just wanted to, we'll just do a very, very quick recap. So I've shown you my new boiler journey. So that's like a flow from a new lead to the point of sale and sale or decline. I've also shown you the example of how you can use it to remind customers about things. Obviously, last week we actually built out a 3-month, 3-stage email campaign to send out. Obviously, that could be 12 months. That could be 10 days. You could email a customer every day for 10 days if you're running a promotion. Get booked in July and you get 10% off today. The next day you get 5% off this, or whatever it is that you want to do. Remember, customers are expecting it. Yeah. Every other site that you go on, any other website you go on, anywhere you buy, even Halfords, you go to Halfords, they want to take your email address to send you the receipt. No, they don't. They want the email address because they want to have that communication with you. They want to be able to, if we want to get really technical, if you've got people's email address, you can actually put them in to something like Facebook or Google Ads. You can put them emails in, and depending on the user's security and privacy, they're going to find them customers online. So you can do retargeting ads and stuff like that. Again, that's sort of pro level, you know, like we're not playing at that level yet, but we're going to get there. You know, I've got a guy that produced a brilliant training on Facebook ads, for example. You know, once I've watched it all and I'm happy that it provides the value that the first part has to me, I'll be letting you know his details, and hopefully you guys can invest a bit in that to start leveraging all of that side of things, especially like right now. It's like it's summer, weather's good. Again, for the heating industry, for the pest guy, he's busy as hell, as you can imagine. But for most of us, it starts to quieten down because people are thinking about holidays. They're busy with the kids doing fun things while the weather's nice because we don't have it all year. Um, so when you're quiet, you want to have an arsenal of things that you can deploy to generate some interest, generate some work. I've got another. I like to give examples. I've got another client that's fairly quiet at the minute, to the point where he's starting to worry a little bit. So now's the time for him to reactivate that database, like what we spoke about on the last session about getting out messages to them customers with some special offers, something to spike some interest, and hopefully over the course of this week he's going to implement that and see the results. So that's enough of me. I've come up to an hour. So that was my little training on the customer journeys. Hopefully it's given you some food for thought. A little task for you all, if you're interested, is to start mapping out your first journey. Something that you feel that is fairly simple and not going to be too hard for you to do, because like with anything, baby steps first. No point trying to sprint to the end. Let's just build some basic stuff out, test it all. Obviously, you've got the luxury of working with me directly on this while I'm building out Sales Lion for a bigger audience. So now is the time to leverage it, yeah? Because in a year's time, I might not be available to support it directly like I am now. Because if I've got 200 clients on it, which isn't the target at the minute, I'm not even thinking about that. I'm just focusing on you guys and making sure that you guys get the power of it. But it might not always be available. So leverage the hell out of it. Ask as many questions to me as you can. If I don't know the answer, I will try and find the answer for you. That's me out. There's only one of you live here, so I'm going to hand over and see if Mike wants to ask any questions or whether he's got to shoot off. If he has got to shoot off, then great. We'll pick this up another day. If he's got questions, this recording is going to carry on a little bit more. So,
No, I'm all
Mike.
good, mate. I'm gonna have a play about with it and see what we can come up with.
Okay, excellent. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to, behind the scenes, I'm going to upload the, do you know what? No, I can't, can I? Bugger. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on getting all of mine into the workflow section so I can upload it. That's what I'm going to do. So by tomorrow, I will get my the flows of mine into your system so you can see it in your end. But feel free to try and build your own. Feel free to just have a play. Just remember, once you've got your customer data in, okay, that's when you want to start being careful, because you don't want shit to go out to people unexpectedly. So keep things in the draft mode while you're testing, while you're building, because yeah, you don't want to do something wrong and it end up firing off to 300 odd people when it weren't ready to go out. All right, that's it then. I'll call it a day. I'll see you all soon.
Cheers, mate.
Bye.
Straight